through some test screenings, it was really interesting. A few people were like, oh, I really resonate with Larry. I feel like Larry is me. And when the person said that, I just took like a little step back.
Where did this come from?
John and I are very sick and twisted people. No, this was originally a web series called Don't Tell Larry. John, co-writer, co-director, is not here today. He and I worked with this wonderful gentleman, Kyle, at a reality TV production company. The three of us were all working at this company when none of us wanted to work in reality TV, and we bonded over that. And Kyle was a member of the Groundlings. Just every time John and I spoke with him, he was really funny, and John and I met, and we're just like, how do we just create a vehicle for Kyle to showcase his talents and his humor? And it came with this quirky coworker, Larry, who, believe it or not, is not based on any actual human being. And originally started off as like a series of short SNL-like sketches where there'd be two characters, Susan and Patrick, accidentally doing something to Larry, like, oops, I kissed Larry's girlfriend at the company party, and then Larry would walk in the room and is like, hey guys, I'm about to propose to my girlfriend. She was missing last night. Just these little series of sketches. And then we really wanted, from there, we just wanted to turn it into something bigger. And then we said, well, we're gonna make a movie. And we wrote this with Kyle in mind as Larry. And then Kyle actually introduced us to Patty and Susan, and that was kind of how the ball really started to get rolling, because the two of them are fantastic, as is Kenneth, and then we started to build out the cast from there.
Well, congratulations to you all, because it is a phenomenal roller coaster of a ride. Farce can be very hard to pull off, and it's a very older style of humor. Personally, I'm a big fan of Monty Python, so I love farcical movies. So how did you develop that? I mean, you had the web series as kind of a platform, but when you're jumping into the feature-length film where you have to sustain that energy, how did you kind of work to make sure that you were keeping it, that action going on the page, but then also once you're there on set?
Yeah, so I feel like this was somewhat of a reverse engineered script, because in the web series, that scene in the supply closet with them drinking pee, which of course was not pee, but the actors are so talented, everyone was cringing and groaning. So kudos again to you two for making drinking water with some yellow food coloring so believable. So we actually, that was a scene that we said, well, we wanted to keep that in the movie, and the original web series, it started off with, oops, I forgot to invite Larry to the company party. And John and I were thinking, well, how do we make it so that something that just deals with something as simple as a company party, how does that lead to death and like destruction? And then from there, so it's like, okay, so we know our starting point, we know our ending point, and then because this is a farce, how do we believably get to a point where we can actually get there in terms of how we tell the story, but also how do we get there on an emotional level with the characters? And it was a big puzzle piece, because every time we would take something out or add something in, it had a ripple effect on everything else that happened. So it was a lot of trial and error in terms of what was plausible, and then it was what we could actually film on a budget, because originally Susan, our lead character, the opening scene was her running through the streets of Milwaukee with a cake for her boss and getting into a canoe and climbing up the side of a ship at a surprise party. And it's like, we wrote that, and then we said to ourselves, well, we can never film this. So it was just a lot of back and forth with us to just figure out how do we get to that point where we include these elements, but we're also production friendly.
Going down that rabbit hole, what was that like?
Well, for me, I mean, even with a web series, like, I just trusted them and their laughter. So, because I don't know, to me, oftentimes it's not that funny. I'm just acting, So I just check in with them and go, is this funny? Is this working? And then just trust their pure joy, because they're just like, they're so giddy on set and so fun to be around. So just trusting that. Was that answering your question? I totally forgot what your question was now. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, how is it kind of diving into these characters? Because you take them to their deepest and darkest moments from what is first a simple white lie, and then murder.
It's tough with Larry because he's so, he's not sane. So it was hard for me I didn't do any like heavy research onto, different psychological disorders. I just sort of played him a little bit off and earnestly,
Yeah. You're good at that, Ernest. Truly, really good. Well, and the way we shot it, they would have to come remind us like what just happened before this a lot of the time, because you know when you're shooting an indie, you're all over with everything. You're
We shot wildly out of order.
Oh, wildly out of order. So it was like, okay, so you just drank pee or whatever. You're like, oh. But there was so much to take in, and as you watching this, like. I guess it's like my third time. I'm like, oh my gosh, we did so much. Like I forget what a ride it is. It truly is such a ride. I feel like doing it, you just have to be like in the moment on that scene. Like I would like to read the whole thing, but then like on the day we would just have to be like really just focused and in the moment so that we could play the truth of that. And then it all came together. You guys did an amazing job. I'm just like so impressed with them. They really weaved this whole incredible story.
And the energy must have been something that you really had to try and capture, especially towards the end when you kind of start going into these more horror elements. Which I noticed watching it again is that definitely you kind of lean into those darker moments, and you have some more a foreboding version of the Raisin song. So kind of what went into that, kind of taking it from comedy to horror?
Yeah, probably like the later scenes were probably a little more close to the script for sure, and the earlier, more funny scenes. I think a lot of sets, like, you know, you do it as written a couple times, make sure you got that, and then if with time permitting, the directors might allow you to like open it up a little bit, but they'd always be coming to us and be like, try this, you know, or we go to them and be like, oh, what if I just try this on the next take? With such limited time, we'd only get to do that a few times, you know, but there was a little bit of improv, and the script was pretty tight too, so yeah.
It also helped that we all lived together for the whole production, so which was like we were just working like 24 hours. I mean, we would eat dinner together, we'd be talking about the day, and then we'd wake up and we'd all go to work together and talk about the day. So we just got to really be immersed in it, and so that allowed us to be like prepared when we were there. And then I think, yeah, they let us play a bit, and
yeah, I mean, and these two are, you know, main members of the Groundlings, and so they're so talented as basically every actor did some improv in some way, and they were fantastic. They took it up a level. I want to single out Heath as well.
Please.
Heath right here, who played Cody. We just gave like Heath a little bit of back and forth. You know, I said like just. In this movie, we just want to make things as difficult as possible for Susan. It was so much fun to just throw shit her way constantly and make things really difficult. And, you know, basically with Heath, we gave him a few lines of like, this is what your character needs to say, but he always would just, like, Susan's in a rush, so he just instinctively would stall her and speak as slowly as possible. Just little things like that. And I think we embraced that, and working with Ed Begley Jr. was, you know, a pinch me moment, and being able to feed him lines from behind the camera was fantastic. And we'd give him a little, give a prompt. And Nana over here, Rhonda. Everyone just like brought their A game constantly. And then, you know, something else that we improvise in a way, and this isn't even on the acting side, but when you're saying like trying to find that tone, when Patrick throws that gavel at the end, originally the shot it was a breakaway gavel, and it hits Larry in the back and just kind of like just bounces off, and like we thought we were gonna really utilize CGI, and then we had an outtake where the actual gavel pipe shattered. And then when we actually put the outtake in there, it actually was more impactful to show that, like, oh, this big motion, you think he's going to come save the day. Actually, just this little doink. And that actually was a lot better. And that's something that we found in the edit. And this movie, if we wanted to play it completely serious, we had the footage for that, which is kind of crazy to think, but that's not the movie that we wanted to make. So I'm happy with where we landed.
One thing that I think everybody does really well on here, too, is the misdirection. You know, it's in a kind of a classic procedural case, your first suspect is never truly the actual killer, and clearly Larry didn't actually kill him, but how did you manage to kind of walk that line where you were constantly driving Susan and Patrick to believe that Larry's the killer, but then also the audience, okay, and using everything from the cat hat to the pee to everything, so you can attach it to these very weird and fun props and costumes. So like, how did you kind of make sure that you were doing that misdirection?
It's a great question. I think a lot of that was, us going back and forth. There was at one point in time we had a version of the script where Larry was completely innocent and actually didn't do anything wrong, and Susan and Patrick accidentally killed the detective. We switched it up. I think I do like the fact that every time you think Larry did something he didn't, every time you think he didn't do something he really did. He's a creepy, not good guy. He just happened to not do the few things that our main characters think he did. Kyle, instead, I think you have such a great way of showing you are super friendly, but also really, really scary. And so that also just really helps sell it. So you're just like, what is this guy gonna do? Is he good? Is he bad? At the end of the day, he really is just misunderstood. He just wants a friend, but the way in which he goes about it is not maybe the best way to do so. But through some test screenings, it was really interesting. A few people were like, oh, I really resonate with Larry. I feel like Larry is me. And when the person said that, I just took like a little step back.
Well, I love that idea too of just like making an assumption about someone and then just like finding all the evidence for like how they're about. I just feel like that's such a real thing that people do, is just meet someone and think they're weird and then they're like, and this and this and this is weird. But he was weird.
There are weird, like the moment where Bruce Waters goes out the window and then she's like, what did you do? I'm like, I didn't do anything. We had that was like a hard thing to kind of go through. I'm like, do we want the audience to sort of think that I might have, And so trying to figure out how to act that moment. We ended up just me acting it as though I didn't because I didn't, but that was like a weird, like trying to thread that needle and find the right thing for the audience to be able to still be wondering,
Which I think you do very well. You really don't know what Larry's up to ever, All right, open to odds questions right here.
Yes, Greg, I want to ask you, do you think you'll get an endorsement from the raisin industry?
That'd be great if we did. We could use some, additional money coming in. So from the raisin industry, why not? That'd be great.
Maybe Larry can do some commercials on national TV.
The raisins, yes.
Another couple questions from the audience, right up there.
What's the plan for the movie now? I see it's on IMDb, it's in post, but where's it going? It's so good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the immediate answer to that question is I'm flying to New York in about 12 hours to the Big Apple Film Festival, where we'll have our New York City premiere after this. We're waiting to hear back from a bunch of festivals at the top of the year in the winter, and we've actually started to get some reviews that have been actually overwhelmingly positive, which is like very, very exciting and encouraging. I think all the ammo and buzz we can get will really help finding that right partner who can really elevate this, because thank you for saying that. I mean, we believe in the success of this movie, just we understand it takes time.
Question from the audience?
I'll ask one. I'm hearing from some films that, it's taken us 20 plus years to put a film together. So how long did it take y'all? And I'm sorry if I didn't read the notes or what have you, but been working all week. It's a work week, it's a school night, so I'm so glad to be here.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. So we had written the web series and filmed it in 2016. So that's 7.5 years ago, almost 8 years ago. We actually, John and I, then tried to transform it into a TV pilot. Realized that the idea of trying to keep escalating something over the course of many full-length episodes of television would be an impossible task, and then we realized having a self-contained 90-minute version was probably the best vehicle for this. So end of 2018 was when we really started writing. The script went through about 20 drafts. Draft 8 or 9 was submitted to this festival in the screenplay competition. We were a quarter finalist. We got some great feedback, but we also knew we still had a ways to go to really refine this, and at the same time, we knew we wanted to make the movie, but there was also a raging pandemic happening, so then 2021 pretty much was spent to raising funds and getting into pre-production, and then we went into production winter 2022. Post was pretty much for about a year. Composing music took about another 6 months, and we finished basically this spring is when we really actually kind of finished.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A lot of years.
So how many screenplays have you actually written before you wrote this one? Before you adapted the web series into a full-length feature screenplay?
Different feature scripts?
Yeah.
I've only written one other feature. I've written a lot of TV pilots, but in terms of the features, I've only written one other.
That's awesome, man.
For anybody else? Oh, right up there.
I'm interested. What's next in the Larry universe?
The Larry universe.
Larry
Great
Con!
question. Would anyone want to see a sequel?
Let's just see Susan die.
Do we want Susan to live or die? Can I see raise of hands for live? And what about die? Because this informs how the sequel goes. Okay. John and I have been talking about some ideas actually for a sequel. At the end of the day, we wanted to still have a self-contained movie, which we feel like we do have, but we left it intentionally open-ended so that we could explore that. Because I do think there is more. We can get a little bigger. We can get a little more ridiculous, I think.
Well, he's coming back with the sword too.
Yeah.
Some kind of sword fight.
He is, yeah.
One more question from the audience.
I just want to say something. Where's Patrick?
Oh yeah, he was here. Oh my god, Dreamboat.
Yeah.
He was here for the premiere on Friday, and he had to go back to LA. But
He's rehearsing for a show right now, but yes, he
Yes.
was here the other night.
I know.
He's fantastic. We love him
We love
very much.
So last question, what is each of your favorite moments from making the movie?
Favorite moments. I mean, honestly, it was not on set, just like living with these guys, and the DP was there too in the house, and it felt so. I made only a couple like independent movies. The other one was a horror movie that I made last year, but living in the house with just everybody, a small group of people, just that experience was amazing. In terms of like shooting, I think even though it was horrible, our very last shot that we ever got was them putting dirt on my face and burying me alive. And it was early in the morning and it was freezing and it was our last shot and the sun was coming up and we had to get it. And I was like, come on, Kevin, let's do this. So even though that was a horrible, it felt bad, but it felt also like we did it, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of a woo-woo weird, like woo-woo lady, and I told this in the premiere, but that moment with the ladybug and it landing on Susan's shoulder and then it going on Gloria's finger and then flying away, all happened
It was
on
in the
set.
script written and then an actual ladybug.
In the script, it was written that a yellow and black ladybug lands on her shoulder. We completely intended for it to be CGI. I've never even seen a yellow and black ladybug before because yellow and black, obviously there's a lot of yellow in this. It's a hazard, a warning. This is our workplace hazard. So we were very intentional with the color yellow. So we were gonna, in theory, take a CGI ladybug and make it just a little yellow instead of red. And we were filming, and on that, I think January 7th.
Yeah.
I know the date. And we were actually filming by the dumpster, and an actual ladybug landed on her shoulder during filming. That was yellow and black. It wasn't even a red and black ladybug, and we all just were freaking out. We have behind the scenes footage of that we'll put out.
Talk about some good karma.
Yeah. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, I was like, this is good
Karma.
This feels really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do have to piggyback on just being able to like be with these guys and spend so much time together was just really fun. It just,
Yeah.
yeah.
We cooked dinner for each other every night. It was great.
Yeah, it really was lovely.
Potato salad every night.
Potato salad with the raisins. And I think for me, actually, it's a moment that actually didn't end up making the final cut. It was the very, very first shot we recorded, which was Susan walking up the stairwell. We cut out some scenes at the beginning where she was trying to get into the building. The door keeps closing on her. The elevator doesn't work, so she has to walk up the stairs, and she bends down to pick up $20, and then that's the money she puts in the charity box. The only reason is because John and I were watching this, and we actually both started crying because this was our dream for years. We were working towards actually making this movie, and it was the very first shot that we actually filmed in production, so it was quite an emotional moment. So I'd say that's probably my favorite, even though it's not even in the movie, but that would be my answer.
Well, Greg, Patty, Kyle, thank you for being here.
Let's give it up for them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming at this late hour on a Wednesday. I hope you had fun, and tell everyone you know, even those named Larry, that you saw a great movie at the Austin Film Festival. So thank you again.
Thank you.